I think especially as people who identify as mixed, we give ourselves grace because often our frustrations manifest in a tone or something like that. And it's often a way of talking, our body's telling us there's a trauma from our mixed identities from the past, be it a recent past to our whole childhoods, that needs to, be tapped into. And so I think that's like really important, giving ourselves grace, but then you give yourself grace and balance that with continuing to try the practice of, more peaceful communication. And I think what's also really important in this kind of concept of agreements is obviously the agreements you're having with other members of your family or participants at a gathering is also the agreements you have with yourself. I think so. In my case, I'm mixed. My mother is white American from Minnesota. My dad is Indian Kenyan, and I spent my early childhood in Kenya. And so with my mom's side, I am the token minority, the literal black sheep of the family. And it took me in college there was this concept I heard of, it is not the responsibility of BIPOC people to educate the majority, and in the United States, this case, white Americans, on the history of racism and how to be anti-racist. And I think, especially since I was studying international studies, this was always in my head. And so I always had this desire to fix my mom's side of the family. And one thing I've learned is that there's times where there's been times in the past where I've talked to my mom's sisters and there's certain ignorances. And they're like, well, why don't you just teach us or these things? And I realize the emotional toll that has on me, feeling like I'm advocating for all people of color because, for them, they lump people, and me also saying I can't speak to that experience. And so calmly practicing the idea of the agreement I have with myself, which I don't have to tell someone beforehand, but let's say I'm interacting with an aunt and I say, actually, that's not my responsibility. I really appreciate that you're interested. I suggest, I've heard this book is good, or actually read this book. Why don't you try this? Because there is a lot of emotional toll and sometimes feels like our currency. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think a lot of times mixed people in a family where there's a majority of another identity white American side. And I don't want to dismiss the experiences of those who are mixed with two minority identities. But there is often a currency I feel our existence brings, and that we're supposed to be this reference point in an encyclopedia and Wikipedia of race relations for the United States, because we're the walking solution. We created post-racism, but we didn't. And so giving yourself grace when you do get frustrated and practicing, the practices you're going to use to communicate better, but also not feeling guilty if you say, I can't do this. And that's okay, because it isn't your responsibility. And maybe there is a time you can do that. Or maybe you did go to a good talk and you share a book with a family member later. That's okay, but also not beating yourself up for that, because I know I struggle with a lot of, trying to do things right, because it's really important for me to check my anti-racism as a person of mixed identity, but also knowing I'm human and it's going to be an ongoing journey. Therefore, everyone else has the right to their ongoing journey and same access to resources.
Yes, thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you for that share out. That was amazing. I appreciate that.